Welcome back to Podkast with a K. You're listening to 90.1 WECS FM. I'm your host, Carla with a K, joined on this fine Sunday evening by Rafael Aragon.
Hello, Carla.
How's it going?
I'm doing all right. I had a good day today.
Yeah? What'd you do today?
It's funny that you should ask because you of all people should know. But to everybody else listening, we actually went down to the Yale Art Gallery.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that was a really good time.
It was pretty fun, yeah.
Oh my goodness, So, you want to tell them about the Yale Art Gallery?
Yeah, so I'm in an art renaissance class. Shout out Art 313. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's perfect. And one of my assignments is to write a sort of review type reflection on a piece from the Renaissance. And so in the suggested museums is the Yale Art Gallery. So we decided to go ahead and go.
Paid them a little visit.
And it was pretty dope. It was actually really, really cool. Of course, they have many, many collections. And it was cool to see everything. And there was like tours going around, and we got to listen to some of the tour guides do their little spiel.
That was really fun. I think a little bit of background, like Carla and I do a lot of talking about like history and art and what it means to what art means, how you can define it, whether it's always subjective or not, if you can like quantify things. I guess we have differing opinions, so we end up having a lot of debates.
They're very intellectual discussions.
Yeah, which is cool because it's intellectually stimulating. So I feel like that's one of the foundations of our friendship.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, but we got to see a lot of really cool things and have a lot of really cool discussions. I got to roast Carla a lot, which was fun. But
all of my friends, as I've mentioned in the past, stay dragging me. I'm not sure if they're actually my friends or if I'm just their punching bag.
One another. We never drag anyone.
I stay getting
Kings
dragged.
And queens, royalty.
I tolerate a lot. 911, yes, hello.
Royalty.
Help me.
No, all right. But one of the tour guides actually, I thought what he was saying was pretty interesting. It felt like he was with a church group or something. Because
yeah, he kept referencing the Bible and like specific books and verses, and everyone was like, "Oh yes, I agree, I concur."
Yeah, I concur. Which referencing Bible is always fun when I'm with Carla because she's Christian and I'm not religious, but I was raised in a Christian household. And as it turns out, Carla, the Christian Carla, has never actually read the Bible. And as a kid, I had to read it. So, it's just fun, you know. I think there's a lot of wisdom in it.
I mean, I never felt the need to have to read it because my dad would tell us the important Bible stories and what he thought of them.
My own holy book.
And I watched Veggie Tales.
Oh, fool. For those of you who can't see, Carla just destroyed some precious school equipment.
No, I did not.
No, she didn't. She just knocked it off of the hook where it's on.
No, I didn't. I feel like the guys that are on here before.
I think you're lucky that I'm here because I know exactly how to fix that.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
I apologize for the feedback on this mic. Rafael, talk about something for a second.
Yeah, of course. Let's see. So we were at the art gallery. It was beautiful. We actually ended up staying 2 hours longer than we had planned to stay, which
Crisis
was definitely
averted.
like it was worth it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun. I feel like my favorite thing in the whole gallery had to be the sculptures.
The sculptures were beautiful. Some of them, most of them were OG. Some of them were replicas, but they were
but I mean,
all absolutely pristine. Like the attention to form, and there was one, and it's in the American art exhibit, I think. And it's a goddess who is like coming out of the water, like a water goddess, right?
Yeah. It was like a water nymph or a water spirit.
Yeah.
She's coming out of the water to kill her lover,
her mortal husband, because he cheated on her. He cheated on a whole goddess. But the sculpture is her, and like her robe is like obviously wet because she's a water nymph thing coming out of the water, and it looks like it's water. It looks translucent. Beautiful, it's amazing. Beautiful. It's such a feat of like absolute artistry and
the skill, honestly.
Yeah,
it just like I was awestruck. And that one, and which one was the other one? The Greek slave. I feel like that one was not just beautiful in like how it was created,
yes,
but the history behind it and like the political message that was trying to be conveyed.
Yeah,
in a time where like slavery abolitionists, were trying to like move away from those things. Clearly, it's not a
agreed.
Good thing. but man, oh man, it was good. It was beautiful.
It was a really cool thing to see all these different types of art too. Like every exhibit was like a different part of history, and we had our favorites. We had ones we didn't care so much for,
like Monet.
Okay, so
Carla doesn't like Monet.
I don't not like Monet. I don't like all of.
I'm just kidding. No, I didn't like it.
So
either.
here's my thing with art, and this is again, I think we've mentioned this on the show before. I have an issue with everyone considering all art to be like good art. And so, for example, there were a few Monet paintings, and there were two that were really, and these are all pointillism, I think, and they were all like in the same area, of course. And there were two that were really nice and colorful, and like from up close you see the detail, from far away you see like the image as it should be. But one of them is just kind of like, this dude was sitting there on like a lazy Sunday afternoon, and he was just like, I see some trees outside. I should paint some trees. Like, there's no depth. Really, there's no color. It's all just like...
detail is a bad word to use when describing
maybe not
Monet
detail.
Painting. Because there is no...
I guess attention to detail. Like, there wasn't any... Like, there's no depth. There's no dynamic aspect to this painting. It was just very flat and basic.
Yeah, I think if Monet has anything, it's intention, you know? Like, he doesn't put a lot of detail into his paintings, which, you know, it's pointillism. It's like drawing with pixels, but there's a lot of intention behind it. But I agreed with you. I didn't like those. I didn't like a lot of them. There were some that I thought were, you know, enjoyable to look at, but for the most part, not a big fan. But we always have this argument, and it's because Carla thinks that not all art is good, which I guess is like fair to say, because what is good, right? It's all perspective, your point of view. It's what is the word that people always use? Art is subjective. Yeah. But my issue is that Carla says if something's not good, nobody should like it. You know?
I'm not saying nobody should like it. I'm saying that okay, so there's taste, right? People can like what they like, but you have to be able to objectively look at something and be like, this isn't good. Not to say that it's not enjoyable, but like there's some art and you're like, there was no real skill needed for this painting. There was no real talent here. Someone just was like, "Oh, this is a pretty color. Let me put it on the canvas."
But there's other things that go into it, I think, and that's why I don't think there's really. I mean, there are objective ways of looking at art, and you can say if something is like skillfully made or not.
Maybe it comes from a place of self-critique, because I'm an artist. I like art. I've been doing art my whole life, and I'm an artist because I like art. Sorry.
Except for those 2 years where it took you to learn
how to like hold a pencil. Sorry. No. And so maybe it comes from a place of self-critique, right? Because I'm critical of my own work, of course, and there's some pieces that I do and it's just like, this was legit just done because I had paint or someone asked me to do it. There is no soul into this, right? There's no, it doesn't mean anything. It isn't anything.
I think my issue with that...
Well, hold up. Then there's pieces that I'll put work into and I'll like care about, and everything will mean something and everything is symbolic and it's a beautiful piece. And it's like, this one should definitely be valued way more than the other one. But the other one, someone will be like, "Oh, you used pink, and pink is my favorite color, so I like this one." It's like, bro, I legit just dropped the paintbrush in the pink by accident. It means nothing.
Here's my thing: that's the issue. Is that you're looking at art as like a single person performance, when I think that like all art, whether it's performance art, visual art, you know, poetry, written art, anything, I think it's more so like a dance between the creator of the art and the person viewing it, right? Or the person like appreciating it.
Sure.
And I think that even if the creator didn't put so much effort into it, if the person viewing it can like input their own lived experiences and taste and all of these things, you know, if pink is your favorite color for some like crazy reason, an entirely pink painting in like different shades and hues of pink would be like, you know, it would be extremely meaningful to you, even if I as an artist painted it because I only had pink and like white and black, so I just used different hues of pink. So like that's why I say it's like art is subjective. Like there's no denying that.
You cannot tell me that one Monet painting was as good as the others, though.
Oh no, definitely. But that's my personal opinion, and I feel like
it's not an opinion though. It's objectively not as good as the others. The others were better. The others had you could see, and you're like, whoa, this dude has an eye for color and light and dark and everything. And the other one that we saw was just flat. There was nothing to it.
I agree in that circumstance particularly because I dislike the same one that you dislike, but I feel like somebody else could walk in and give meaning to the one that we dislike.
That is one boring
and love
person.
It for some reason. Hey, maybe
Super
they're
drab.
not. Maybe they're so crazy and they remember like one lived experience that was like very impactful and turn them into who they were.
And that's another aspect of
that.
this argument that often comes up, is the meaning that you apply to the art that you like.
And I think that's why
but
we're
that's
kind
why
of
I
at a
said
standstill.
objectively.
Yeah.
That's where that word comes into
I
play.
don't know.
Subjective and objective are not mutually.
That's the thing. It's like objectively based on whose opinion, which goes back to it being subjective.
That's the whole point of being objective. There is no opinion applied.
Like, you know, who tells you that this is good? Like, besides just the fact that a lot of people enjoy it and think it's pretty to look at, and they get good feelings from looking at it, or they get
it's
any
like the
kind of
difference
feelings from looking at
between
it.
like making a cake out of a box and letting Gordon Ramsay make you a cake.
And that was your teacher's opinion. That was
absolutely not.
And that goes back to taste. Like even like art as like a cooked thing. Like
listen to my analogy, right? So it's the difference between making a cake out of a box and letting Gordon Ramsay make you a cake, right? Whether or not you like the box cake more, there was no skill that went into it. The box told you put in 2 eggs, a cup of oil, and some water, or whatever the box says.
Those are all things that you can measure.
Exactly, but it's telling you to do the thing, and like it's foolproof, right? You do the thing and you make the cake, and that's that. But however, if Gordon Ramsay does it, he's gonna put in so many other factors, and he's gonna take so much more into consideration. And the majority
of people will like it more, right?
And whether or not you like your box cake better than Gordon Ramsay, because like I, for one, often enjoy.
I don't think you have to accept that Gordon's is better than your box
That's
cake.
what I'm saying. Like, whether or not hold on.
So you agree
there was more skill that went into Gordon Ramsay's
I just want that to
than
go
the
on
box cake. No, I don't agree. I disagree with everything you say ever forever.
All right. Well, I think that you and I, like, aside from this podcast, we've had this discussion multiple times. So I don't think we're going to get anywhere.
No, we're not, because this is a discussion that's been had with multiple people, and everyone always gangs up on me, but I refuse to change my opinion because I'm right and you're wrong. Bye.
No, I think you.
This has been Podcast with a K. Good night.
Over. Good night, everyone.
No, I'm playing.
No. But segueing away from that, then, since we're back where we usually end up, I think we should listen to my first song.
Should we? Oh, let's do that actually, and then we can get to know who you are, because we jumped right into it.
You all
just
have
like
been listening
to
me,
blogger.
And you don't even know who I am.
This is a mysterious giant who goes to school here. Anyway, so what is the first song? We're gonna do these questions backwards than we usually do.
We're gonna do what?
The questions backwards from how we usually do. We usually end on the song, but today we're starting with the song.
I like this song.
How refreshing.
Like it's a nice happy song that I think we should start with.
That is entirely a lie.
But this song is called Heroin by Badflower.
All right, so let's hear what the inside of Rafael's soul sounds like.
Chill.
That was Heroin by Badflower. Good song. I like it. It's nice. It's a nice vibe. It's definitely that Sunday evening vibe.
Ooh, I love that vibe. I honestly search for songs like that. But shouts out to my brother Jack for that song. He's actually the person who showed it to me.
Jack seems like he has good taste in music.
Oh, Jack has good taste in everything, especially friends.
Oh, because he's your friend. As y'all can tell, Rafael is very humble. We bonded over his humility.
Oh, yeah. Well, ego, self-esteem, remember?
Ego, self-esteem. More on that later. First and foremost, let's do some intro so y'all can know who on earth you're listening to, because I sure don't. All right, so, Rafael, same questions we always ask everyone. First of all, how old are you?
I am 22.
Would you consider yourself Gen Z or a millennial?
Honestly, I don't know. I could be the youngest of the millennials or the vanguard of Gen Z. You're
in that gray area as well.
Yeah, I'm in that little gray area. Just a shy tad bit older than Carla Pacheco. I mean, Carla Pacheco.
Absolutely not. Don't disrespect me like this. Pacheco, say it right.
Might be, homie. Didn't mean to just dox you on air.
Nah, people be saying my name wrong all the time.
All the time.
So annoying. I've heard Pacheco Sahagan. I've heard Pachio Shogun. I don't know. I've heard literally every possible iteration of it.
What are you, a ninja?
Precisely, yes.
What are they called, the Japanese that aren't ninjas?
It's a great question. I have no idea.
Come on, samurais.
Oh, samurai, yeah.
Shogun.
Wow, amazing. I totally know history.
You're a fool.
I know everything. What is your major?
I am a psychology major.
What brought you to psychology? Have you always been a psych major?
Jesus. I don't know. I think I like humans. I like people. I like the way they think, how they engage with one another, and then how they engage with themselves, And I think that society as a whole, and then specifically like our culture, our people, could benefit from understanding ourselves just a little bit more, at least.
Psychology is, after all, the brain trying to understand itself.
Oh yeah, and I think that's beautiful.
It is.
Holy
it is
shit.
Indeed.
I mean, holy moly.
It's late. You can say almost whatever you want, but if not,
Are you allowed to say that I can say anything on air?
if you didn't know, actually, the FCC guidelines, censorship for this is why like Saturday Night Live gets away with what they do. After 10 o'clock, the time changes and there's not really kids watching or listening, or they shouldn't be, and so the censorship laws, rules, regulations are a lot more lax.
Amazing.
So yeah.
I think I love that.
This is officially PG-13.
So back to me.
Back to you, because that's your favorite topic. What is
That is not true, and you know it. But
this is the most important question that you're going to hear all night. What is your zodiac sign?
I am a Sagittarius.
Do you actually believe in astrology to any degree?
I'm a hopeful skeptic.
A hopeful skeptic.
Yeah, no, I think
Elaborate.
I'm that way with pretty much anything supernatural when it comes to magic and God and occult shit and like zodiac signs.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe because, science and everything.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't doubt that, like, or I do doubt, obviously. That's the whole point of being a skeptic. But
guess.
I like to believe that there's something beyond just the physical
plane of existence.
That we have of existence. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, like, if anything, I'd like to believe that science and magic are if not the same thing, similar at least.
Interesting. That's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like one could pick up the slack where the other one fails to explain itself, or where we fail to understand one or the other.
And I think that's just what it is. I think that magic, or what we label as magic, is just aspects of science that we haven't really understood yet or grasped yet. And maybe we have kind of not the best interpretations of things. Like, there's not a horse drawing the sun around the sky.
Shouts out to my boy Apollo.
Yeah, but there is some kind of movement happening, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that with all the things that we've explained so far, there's still so many things that we don't understand.
Yeah. And see, that's one thing that I do enjoy about astrology, just to like touch back on one of my favorite topics.
Interrupting.
Do not steal my own jokes and use them against me. How dare you?
No, go ahead.
No, but the way that people behave, I mean, obviously being a certain star sign doesn't excuse your behavior.
Oh, definitely.
But you can, there's, like I've said before, there's so many consistencies between certain star signs. Like, people act similar whenever they're of a certain star sign. And it's not that it's broad, it's not that it's vague, but like,
I think that's debatable. Like I said, I'm a hopeful skeptic, right? So but thinking about what you're saying is, I don't think that there's empirical evidence to like support things like that. And then at the same time, I think that a lot of the conclusions we reach when it comes to astrology signs are all kind of
they're definitely generalizations.
It's an A word.
I have no idea.
When you experience something yourself, but it's not supported by like empirical evidence.
Is an assumption?
No.
Illusion?
Mm-mm.
Allegory of the cave?
No, Carla, you're using a bunch of writing words.
Yeah, you said it started with an A, so I'm just going down the vocab list that's permanently ingrained in my head.
As opposed to non-writing words. No, I mean like science terms. What is the word? Anyway,
I wish I had
if anybody wants to just call in and give us the word. No, I'm just kidding. Don't call in.
Wow, shade. Well,
anecdotal.
Oh, yeah.
Anecdotal evidence.
That is a writing word.
I guess so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Aren't you a writer because you like writing?
Because I've been writing since I learned how to
pick
up a pen.
Oh. Well, I don't know. As far
I'm a
as
Sagittarius.
So you're a Sagittarius. And as far as that goes, do you relate to your traits?
I think in some ways yes, and in some ways no. But that's, because they're kind of broad in general. But I do like being a Sagittarius. I think that I think that I give my own interpretation to things, and so instead of taking like, oh, Sagittarius are this and Sagittarius are that, I like to just think of the imagery and see how I see myself in it. And I like the fact that it's half human, half horse.
I was about to ask, do you see yourself as a centaur?
Yeah, because I think part of the zodiac calendar is like animals, and a part of it is humans, or like human objects, things that are more towards the civilization aspect versus the like wild savage aspect.
Right.
And I think that I feel comfortable in that good like middle ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that translates to a lot of things in my life, you know, where it's like there are people that are like racially ambiguous. You don't know where they're from or what they are, ethnically ambiguous, sexually ambiguous.
Right.
Just all of these things, right? That I like being in a space where like in the in between zone, a liminal zone.
Yeah. Back to those gray areas, I guess.
And it also means that like I work well I at least I think I do. I think I work well in different environments, right? Where I can be around one kind of person and feel comfortable, and then move to a different circle or a different environment. And
it's like code switching.
Yeah, exactly. And but that's my thing. See,
did you know that's not all of our fire sign trait?
Oh, really?
It is.
Wow.
Fire signs can be fleeting. They can be quick to move on, but they're also very, since you're a Sagittarius, you're an archer, so your aim is precise, right? Which means that every move you make is deliberate, even though it's spontaneous.
Yeah. So my big thing is though that I feel like that's not necessarily a zodiac thing versus just like a lived experiences thing, where people who have been in positions similar to mine are pretty good at code switching. I think for the most part, right?
Yeah.
There are some people who are resistant or hesitant to code switching because they're like, oh, I don't want to be fake or something. But it's not being fake. You know? It's just adjusting to the environment.
It's learning to adapt
for your success. You know, and I think that a lot of like people of color, a lot of undocumented people, a lot of women, just anybody who's in a subgroup of people who's been like marginalized,
right,
has learned to like navigate different environments because we have to survive, right? It's a survival skill.
You're not wrong. It's most definitely a survival skill. But yeah, I agree. But I do think it has to do with your star sign because, like I said, what you just said kind of fits your.
Shouts out Christian.
Perhaps it does fit your astrological description fairly well, and as we've discussed on the show, even Jorge, who was like our first guest, and he said that he didn't really relate or want to relate. I quizzed him later. I was just like, so would you say you're these certain traits? And he was like, no, I wouldn't. And then I asked him another set. He's like, yeah, I guess so. And everything matched up to his zodiac sign, and I was like, that's very interesting, Jorge.
You might have to quiz me that later.
I will indeed, because I'm always right and never wrong, and astrology is probably real, maybe.
Icarus. All right. So what's next?
All right. So
you want to introduce our little game here?
We have sort of a game, sort of just
something to drive us along.
Something to drive us along, and it's funny because this is kind of what it follows the general structure of our conversations, just in life in general. We talk a lot of nonsense, but it's never just like small talk type nonsense. It's always things that have like bigger implications, just because they're good topics. Like.
Yeah, I think that I think that that's a foundation of our friendship. Like I said earlier, I think it's hard for me to spend a lot of time with people who aren't contributing to like my pool of knowledge, maybe.
Yeah.
Who aren't stimulating me intellectually, and because I just get bored, you know. And there's like people talking about, you know, I don't know,
the weather,
their TV shows, the weather,
how class went.
They're like other people that they like, that they don't like, you know, and it's just like,
what's that one quote about, like certain people talk about ideas, other people talk about people, whatever.
I think that sounds pretentious though.
It does sound pretentious, but at the same time, like there's
some truth to it.
There's some
like
truth
all
to
cliches, you know, they're cliches for a reason.
Cliches are cliches for a reason. Not that he'd be listening, but shouts out Kyle, who I told this to, and turns out I was right. I was playing into that quote. Never mind. Sorry. Okay, so the game is basically we have topics on paper, and we're gonna draw from them and discuss them in the sorting hat.
You guys should see this hat. It's
the actual sorting hat from Harry Potter.
It's one of those like cylindrical top hats that like Abraham Lincoln wore.
Yes.
But it's got like a purple ribbon on it, and the brim is like lined with white lace.
Yes,
It's really
precisely.
very beautiful. So and it's like, and it's all velvet black, right?
We went out and got this hat specifically for this game, for this
I
show,
paid
on air, on the radio.
$170 for this hat.
And none of
just
y'all
so
are
we could
ever
pull
going to
things out
see
of
it.
Yeah, no.
It's
And
pretty
I also
sad.
bought a rabbit. I put it in there with the paper.
There's a rabbit here in the studio with us as we speak.
All right, shut up. Let's talk about something else. What do we got?
Draw a topic.
Oh, Carla, you're just your luck. Maybe we should skip this one.
Let me see it.
We'll save it for later if we want to.
You know what's funny is a lot of the topics that are in this they're all things that we've talked about throughout this show already.
But I think Carla's tired of hearing me talk about that one, so
we'll elaborate on this one once it comes out.
Wow, I guess I'm just
The point of drawing from a hat is to like have a random one, not just pick ones you want to talk about.
All right, no, it's just I feel like let's not. I'm not. He will pick this one.
All right, go ahead. Please introduce the topic.
The topic is academia, and we want to talk about how you feel about just the general academia. How do you feel about school, classes, university, the learning process, degrees?
This is something I've thought a lot about because in a lot of instances in my life, you've just offended everyone that's listening that has a speech
so
impediment. How
sorry.
dare you?
I am an able-bodied person, and that was very disrespectful.
Moving
I'd like to
on.
apologize.
Academia.
You can't just move on from that, Carla. We have to take a moment to like let me sit with that.
I wish y'all could see that this man is like dying of laughter on the inside.
You're making me look so bad on air, Carla.
I'm joking.
I'm only laughing
I'm
because you're
sorry.
laughing. All right.
They're if we're laughing at stuff, it's just because they're inside jokes, not because there's any weight to it.
Academia.
I feel like I'm digging a hole.
You are.
Okay, academia. So a lot of instances in my life have led me to be in a place where I'm like teaching in some sort of way, and it's not, I've never wanted to be a teacher or anything. Like, respect to teachers. I can't do your job. I literally am unable to. I have no patience for that.
Rip.
But I have gotten to see what it's like and how people learn, and with my own personal experiences about how I learn and how I feel about like certain things. And like, my mother has worked for schools before, and seeing the structure of, not really, I guess the structure as well as how jobs are delegated, right? It's the system for education is so flawed because there's such an emphasis on memorization and passing tests, and that's how I learned for a long time. And I kind of learn things. I take the test, I pass the test, I get the grade, move on. If it was interesting, I'll remember it. If not, I guess I didn't need to know it. So that's a problem that I think is prominent in academia.
Yeah.
How about you? What are your thoughts?
There's an amazing painting in Dartmouth College by actually a Mexican painter. I can't remember his name right now.
Shouts out Mexico for having good painters.
Yeah, for having amazing painters. Honestly, that was hidden from me for so long in like my history classes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess it's like, they teach you U.S. history and ancient history and then nothing else. But Jesus Christ, Mexico has had some incredible painters. And obviously we know about a few of them because, they became very well known, but we've had a lot. Anyway, there's this entire room that just he painted, and there's a piece of it, I'm not sure exactly if it's called this, but it's like the death of academia or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it's a bunch of like skeletons in like caps and gowns and regalia, standing around this other skeleton that's giving birth to a skeleton baby, and there's like a diploma and whatnot, and it's supposed to be a commentary on the state of like academia and just like how people get degrees but aren't really learning,
right?
And that hit me hard. And there's also in the one it was amazing when I saw there's a portion of it that has a guy who's very clearly kind of like a manual laborer worker, and he's lying down on like an I-beam, which is one of those red steel beams that you see on cartoons. They fall on people and whatnot. Yes. But it's called an I-beam, and he's laying down on it and reading a book, and like Jesus, and he's brown,
Yeah.
And that's just it's significant to me. But I think that's a big issue here is like people come to school, they learn what they need to pass a test, and then they forget about it.
Yeah.
Like you said. And I don't engage with classes like that. I go to my classes and I'm a big nerd. I'm a I'll say lifelong learner for you know,
Yes.
to be kind to myself, but I love learning. I think that so many things are interesting, and Carla knows I spend my free time watching YouTube videos about things that I think are interesting and like and that are educational, right?
Even when you're procrastinating, you're learning, which is
Yeah.
cool because, you know, as
But-
long as you stay engaged.
But like I'll go to class and I hate busy work, so I suck at doing my homework, but I always ace my tests, and
Right.
and like even if I don't take notes, it's because I sit there and I like truly digest everything that's being taught, because I think it's amazing. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. So I've had a struggle with like the structure of academia, but I've also succeeded very well because, you know, the structure of things is also kind of more friendly to people who test well.
Yes,
And,
for sure.
And I test well because things just stick to me because I like them.
Yeah, that's always been a discrepancy amongst my peers and I, because like I said, there's things that are interesting and I can talk about for ages. That's so niche. Why would anyone know or care about that? But when it comes to tests, like I'll get the questions right just because like I know how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And other people, like, they'll study for ages, and it's just like, it sucks that that's the system, because then they could explain it to you, which is something that like not everyone can do. Like even if it's math or like what led up to a certain war, like if you're able to explain it, that should be enough because you understood the concept, not you had the ability to remember that the War of 1812 happened in 1812.
There are some people that are like vastly better workers than I am. Like their work ethic is just so much better.
Yeah.
I'm a serial procrastinator, as many college students are, but there are just, you know,
Shouts
those
out
people in class.
procrastinators. We'll meet
Yeah,
tomorrow
shouts out
or
to
later.
you. Or later, you know, eventually.
At some
we'll
point.
get to it. But there, you know, there's those kids in class who like just bust their ass studying and working so
Yeah.
hard, and they just struggle so much, and I feel so bad for them because,
Right.
you know, like I'm sorry that it's not that they're not smart; they're very intelligent. It's just that the way the system is set up,
Yeah.
it's set up for them to fail, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and like, what can I say except sorry?
Yeah, and like this is definitely something that should at some point be, you know, changed, addressed, because I learned in my previous place of learning, shouts out Mr. Bruff, but he told us
We got
that
a lot of
the way
shouts
that
out going on.
I love
Shouts out,
shouting people
shouting
out because I learn a lot from other people. There's something to be gained from every conversation. No, but he told us that there's the system that we have, the school system that we have is still kind of like it was back in like the times of the Great Depression, where people went to school just kind of as a way to pass time, but also in preparation to be cultured enough, but most likely end up working in a factory.
And that's my big issue too, is like we live in a capitalist society where even if we manage to get everyone college educations and we just had a friend show up outside and wave to us. But even if we manage to get everybody a degree,
There's just not jobs.
capitalism is like it's reliant on there being a subservient population, you know?
Right.
Whoever it's been in the past and whoever it's going to be in the future, it's necessary for it to exist, you know?
Yeah.
And so there needs to be like radical change to the way things are set up
And
before we can like progress as
there's a lot of
humanity.
things to change.
Yeah.
So that's why it's
and
so
we disagree in
monumental.
which direction things should go,
But a change is
or not in which
definitely needed.
direction, but just how far.
Yeah.
But just we do agree that a change is necessary.
All right. Well, moving on. New topic.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna just pick one again.
The point of this hat again was for it to be random, but okay.
You know, I don't like not being in control. We can talk about that. What do you
Rafael
think?
suggested this entire game, you know.
I did. I designed this whole like interview
You were exactly
process.
the system that doesn't work because you choose the system and you're like, time for another one.
Shut up. But like I don't
yes.
I don't like not feeling in control, so
Typical fire sign.
here we are. I don't know, I just think
No,
that
yeah.
things go better if I can dictate how they'll go, and then if they don't go well,
Yeah.
at least I can bear the burden of the responsibility, like, oh, things didn't go well.
I
But I know for a fact that I tried my hardest. If I put it on somebody else, I'll never know if they tried their hardest or not.
that is interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, new topic.
Ego, self-esteem.
Ego, self-esteem.
Because we said it earlier. I feel
We
like
did.
we owe it to
Do we want
people
to?
listening.
Let's discuss ego, self-esteem. So we have a running joke that kind of it was a comment that I made in the moment, but kind of hit.
But it resonated.
It resonated.
It hit hard.
It hit different. But it really resonated because a lot of, I don't know, it was a joke, but it held some truth, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
so the way that this joke happened, I was like, ego, and I pointed like way up, kind of like the miming of a bar graph. So ego was way up high, self-esteem was like low down on the ground, right?
You smack the floor when you say self-esteem. So you go ego, you put your hand up.
You jump to reach the ceiling.
You say self-esteem and you smack the floor. and it's a running joke between Carla and I that it's like, how do you reconcile those two things where you understand, Carla understands that she's great at art, she does incredible work, and she's done so much with her life, right? Like, you're basically done with 2 like associate's degrees, and if you wanted to, you could finish like next semester or something.
Shouts out
like
to myself
yesterday.
for being the best. But also
and
like whenever
amazing.
he started, so to elaborate on the ego self-esteem thing, all of this is true, but whenever y'all just got to hear about my accomplishments, I physically like cringed at like, oh my god, don't talk about me, I don't exist. And
that happened. Like, I relate to that a lot too. My buddy who I told you about, Jack, he's like, dude, why are you like, why are you downing yourself? You've accomplished so much for your age.
You've lived such a
all the things that you've done,
impressive life.
Just like the kind of work that I do and the degree to which I do it.
Yeah.
So back home, for everyone who doesn't know, I'm a contractor, and I run my own group of people, and I run my own contracts, and I don't know. I think that part of it is like, I understand what I had to do to get through it, and in hindsight, I guess the difficulties aren't as difficult.
Yeah.
I'm not going through them in the moment, but also like I can't deny that I had a lot of blessings that other people didn't have.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who he's documented, and one day I was like, I don't mean to offend you, but I feel frustrated that you have all these wonderful opportunities and you're not making the most of it, and like I don't have much, but goddamn, I did what I could. And he's like, yeah, but you think about it, like his dad's he's not in the picture, right? And my father, maybe when we were younger, wasn't the best father, but he taught me things, right? Things that were useful and that I brought to the workforce,
right?
And that played a key part in like me being able to navigate things. And he just didn't have that, right? So I guess that's just a lesson on not like comparing yourself to others, because that's part of the reason why our self-esteem gets dragged down so low.
Yeah, for sure. And it's
humble, but also lift yourself up, kings and queens.
Royalty. Be like what Icarus should have been.
Don't fly too high, don't fly too low.
If you don't know the myth of Icarus, one of our topics.
Are we really explaining Icarus?
Yes, I'm explaining Icarus.
I feel like that's a cultural touchstone that if you don't know by now, I don't know what to tell you.
All right, you can Google Icarus, or you can listen to me, because I'm going to tell you anyway. This is my show. Don't tell me how to run it.
Carla, I will kick you out of this.
Bold of you to assume
you take is mercy from me, Carla.
Black Panther reference. You're welcome. I am that one page that explains the memes whenever you don't know the memes for yourself.
What does it mean?
What does it meme? What do you meme? That's a good game. Shouts out Fio for getting me that game. I'm going to shout out everyone I know on this show.
Early 2000s rap song.
Precisely.
Shouts out my mama. Shouts
Wait,
out
I'm
my
explaining
uncle.
Icarus. So Icarus, long story short, this dude, Daedalus, has the labyrinth, right?
Yeah.
Where he keeps the Minotaur. And this dude made him mad. And so he was like, yo, you're going to prison in my maze forever. And this dude was like, oh, how sad. And he has a son, right? And he's like, you will never see the light of day or whatever.
Puts him in the tallest
but
tower.
Your boy Icarus's dad is super smart.
Daedalus.
Daedalus isn't the dad, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is the dad. He's in the maze. Anyway.
The king is King Minos.
Yes, that is correct.
Also the father of the Minotaur.
Dun dun. Because
Little
that makes
pervert.
sense. Anyway, stop. I'm explaining myths. So Daedalus collects wax from the candles and feathers from the birds that flew overhead, and builds him and himself and his son wings. And he tells Icarus, don't fly too close to the sun, or the wax will melt and you'll fall into the ocean. And he says, but also don't fly too low, because the ocean will wet your wings and weigh you down. And either way,
every single time.
What?
I said it was worth it every single time. So the story ends with...
Icarus...
Let me finish the story, because I have something to say. We talk about this sometimes too.
Yes.
So Icarus, he had never lived outside of that tiny little cramped room that he had lived in, and he's finally outside. And not only is he outside, but he has wings. He can fly. It's amazing, a marvel. And how do you tell somebody who's lived in a prison for their whole life that you have to continue to live in a prison? Maybe not as small of a prison, but the idea is that you're telling him these are your limitations. And for the first time in his life, Icarus was like, I have no limitations. I'm free. You know, and if it costs me my life, hell, I'll give it.
But the thing was, Icarus didn't think it would cost him his life. It was his own hubris that led to his own demise. He was like, bro, I'm invincible. I'm out here. I'm literally
than any
flying.
Man had flown before
and because of that,
history,
as his
and it was worth
dad
it every
said,
single time.
Daedalus, more like Daedalus.
And that's why we talk about Icarus.
Yeah.
Because he died a hero. He did what
he
other
died
people
a
would not have
tragic
done.
death that could have been avoided, and he could have gone on to be a hero
Someone
because he still flew higher than
would
anyone
have been
else.
A coward
no.
and not reached for the sun. But Icarus,
hubris is a recurring theme in Greek tragedies for a reason.
And I understand, but I'm just saying you should maybe look at it from another perspective and say, hey, if there's something that you are striving for and want to do, put everything into it. Put all of yourself, because ultimately you're gonna die regardless, right? Imagine being Icarus, having flown like in the perfect halfway point. You live your life, and it's like you never got up there, got to experience what that peak was like, what the sun felt like at that altitude.
You can feel the sun once.
Yeah. Hey.
But was it worth it is the thing, you know? That's like the question that all classical
it's
Greek
2019 and we're still talking about him.
And we're still discussing whether or not it was worth it.
Some people's grandparents are forgotten a generation after they die, you know?
Yeah.
And years from now, we will still be talking about
Is your legacy more important than your life?
I mean, isn't that a personal call to make?
It is, but can't there be a world where both are possible to attain? Like I said, Icarus would have already have flown higher than any man. He just flew too high. Again, his own hubris was his own demise.
In the pursuit of knowledge and experience and all those beautiful, wonderful things. Always push your limits, push the boundaries. And if it kills you, goddamn, you died doing something amazing. You died a hero.
All right, there's yous and there's me's in the world. This is, again, a conversation we have a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely.
All right, so, hit us with a new topic.
Let's see.
Get rid of, I guess, ancient history and mythology from that list.
Wait, what? Ancient history?
Yeah, disgust.
Wow, okay, the disrespect.
We just talked about mythology.
I mean, I guess we talked about it a little bit.
Do you want
Who's your favorite god or goddess?
Of, like, all of them?
Every single one.
Apollo, god of music.
You're so lame. I'm just kidding.
Dude, it's because of him that we have the sun.
Huitzilopochtli. Huitzilopochtli is the war god of the Aztecs. But I don't know. I'm not good at picking favorite things. I like so many gods. I think they're amazing. But like Athena, hero,
icon,
amazing icon,
legend,
I mean, wisdom,
yes,
and warfare, strategy.
Athena had it all.
That's all you need. You
Athena
know?
is who I aspire to be. Okay. She's amazing.
And then Poseidon.
Poseidon, of course. Of the big three, Poseidon's inarguably the best.
What else do we have from other mythologies?
Greek mythology is the one I know the most about.
Carlo Pacheco. And now we're talking Egyptian.
In terms of Egyptian mythology.
Ra, Horus, Isis.
Isis?
Seth.
That's a vine, I'm sorry.
Seth.
Anyway.
No, that's a good transition into religion and the occultism.
Religion and the occultism.
Religion already a little bit.
Like I said, a lot of the topics just kind of are topics that come up naturally in our conversations because that's like the type of people we are.
Yeah. But so you tell me first. So we already know that Carla's a Christian, right? Yes,
I was raised Catholic. I got to experience life in a Baptist church for a bit. But yeah, I'm fundamentally
Carla's
a Christian.
A proud member of Westboro Baptist.
No, absolutely not. Don't
kidding.
You dare. Jesus Christ.
No, but so like I said earlier, also I'm a hopeful skeptic, right? And I think that's part of the reason why I like fucking with things so much,
See, here's my thing. I feel like I love being bilingual.
God,
okay, so so tiene que tener criterio. So you have to be able to like look at things objectively and kind of judge for yourself.
Smite me, oh mighty smiter.
That's Bruce Almighty is a great movie. But even as a Christian, I refuse to believe that like anything is perfect. Please, other Christians, don't come at me. Don't at me. the Bible was written by men. Like, that's a fact, right?
I just
And the stories
I
that
can't
we have
take
are
you
word of
seriously
mouth.
as a Christian, Carla.
Excuse
You
you.
haven't read your own holy book. We have debates, and you have no foundation. For
Yes, I
the
do.
things
I
that you
know
can't
enough
argue.
in order to be
You're
able to have
arguing
the
from,
debates.
I feel in my heart that
No,
religion is
no,
true.
no, absolutely
Instead of
not.
like from a
You're
concrete
making it
place of
sound
like
like I
from this
always
place and
argue
that. Place.
This is not how these conversations go at all. My point of view is always like very open to other religions, and I accept that there's a lot of overlap, because there probably is a lot of overlap in whatever the
So then would you accept that
metaphysical
the Christian
actually
God
is.
is not the one true God?
I believe that there is one true God, whatever that form
Mhm.
may be, sure. But like, and that's
How about
because
the idea that Satan and God are both one and the same? Two parts of a whole, a yin
that
and a yang
plays into a theory
The duality
that I
of God.
enjoy entertaining.
Not
No,
just the
do
duality
not,
of man,
do
the
not,
duality
do
of
not,
God.
do not. If you're to believe that, what's the egg theory thing about how everything is a like reincarnation of? Stop antagonizing on my show.
Messing with this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, if you're to believe that everything is the reincarnation of one thing, then that would mean, yes, that God is everything and everyone always and forever. And that basically life is just kind of God playing a really extensive game of Sims,
Yeah.
right?
I like that, and
I-
like I that's
Yeah.
that's the belief system that I most I
I
guess ascribe to.
don't like that only because that means that. I
So you
don't-
mentioned it just because you know it's a thing.
I mentioned it because I know it's a thing, and it's something that, like I said, I enjoy entertaining, and it's interesting, and it's a cool theory, but at the same time, it kind of interferes with the theory of, or not the theory, the concept of free will.
We've had this discussion before. It doesn't. Because
But
we
it does,
we
because it's the
initially,
free will
before we
of
divided
God,
ourselves
right?
up into millions of
That's
minds.
the free will of this one
decide-
OG being.
Yeah, but we all collectively, when you bring us back together, that was our will. We agreed that
Yes.
this was a worthwhile thing to pursue.
However,
Because imagine existing forever, eternally in nothingness.
but that means that
Really.
everything you do, everything you say, like this moment in time right here, it's predestined, right?
But I decided it.
You decided that this moment would exist as your other form, but in this form, there's no free will because everything's predestined.
You're thinking of it in forms instead of in the sense that we are one and the same.
In the
whole
grand
way
scheme of
through.
things, sure. However, that is so much. Like,
Just because it's a lot to
no,
think about
I'm
and a lot
not
to
that
hold
it's a lot to
doesn't
think
mean
about. That's just a lot of I guess energy that would combine into one being. You know what I'm
I think that
saying?
your argument's falling apart.
My argument's not falling apart.
A lot of energy that would combine into one thing, and it's not possible
Yeah.
because of that.
I'm not saying it's not
We
possible
are God,
because of that.
Carla.
I'm saying
As a collective, all of us together.
I'm saying
everything
think
that
how
exists.
minuscule that means that this right here is, how insignificant, how
It's not
absolutely
insignificant
nothing this
because
is.
we purposely decided that this moment would happen
Right.
when we were one.
We as
being.
one being.
and
The
and that we
collective
wanted
we.
to experience it because it was beautiful and it was worthwhile experiencing.
For
and
the
because,
experience.
you know, for the experience, even the
Yeah.
good things and the bad things, because it all plays together to value one, you
Yeah.
need the other, and existence and living and going through all of that. It's a beautiful thing
Yeah.
when you compare it to nothingness, to just eternally sitting in a void just with yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine how lonely that must have been. Of course, you would have said, "Hey, you know, I'll split myself into millions of beings and interact with myself."
Right.
And on top of that, I'll make each of them forget the fact that I am one, because that's what makes the illusion. That's what makes the idea that we're interacting with another being, like, make it real. You know,
Yeah.
that's what makes it real. The fact that we can't remember that we are one.
There's beauty in existing for the experience.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm here for a good time
Not a long time.
and a long time. I'm here eternally.
Ooh,
We are
nice,
here eternally.
amazing, beautiful, perfect. One of my goals in life is to become immortal.
What's the time looking like?
We have time for one more topic if you'd like to discuss one more topic. Because if not, then I want to tie this all together.
Do I want to let you have that satisfaction of tying everything together? We already talked about art being subjective.
Honestly, this is how every conversation goes, and I need to
this
pick
is
my
the
friendships
tea.
better.
Carla, how do you pick your friends, Carla?
We're out of time. Goodbye. How do I pick my friends?
We're going to be out of time by the time I have to answer it, which is beautiful.
No, we're great on time. How about you answer this one first, then? Just so we don't run out of time.
That's an interesting way of dealing with things. Let's see. How do I pick my friends? Like I said earlier, I like people who stimulate me intellectually. And I like people who impress me. I think that if I'm surrounding myself with people they have to bring something to the table that I think, wow, this is important, this is significant, you know?
Yes.
And they also have to be able to relate to me in some kind of way, right? There's a lot of things that I struggle with that other people don't struggle with, and if you can't like understand those kinds of conversations, it's just difficult to really make a connection.
This is basically the me an intellectual meme as a person.
And I think like my friends here in college, my family comes to mind a lot because I have two. I was raised with women, right? When I was a younger kid, I moved in with my dad when I was like 10 or 11. But I was raised with women, and I feel like the people that I surround myself with remind me of my family, like either my mom or my two sisters. Like I told you before the podcast, you remind me of my sister Karime, and then there's people who remind me of my sister April or my mom and things like that. And I don't know. I guess I just, I was a child when like I lost that connection with the matriarchal aspect of my family. Yeah. And so that kind of nourishing and like protecting, kind, caring environment is something that I feel like I want to create around myself, right, and to the people that are around me. Being a the only boy living with just his dad it's not the most nurturing or kind, loving environment. So I think that's why I pursue like relationships that are like this, friendships that are kind and caring, where we take care of one another. I think that's how I try to have my circles be. I take care of my people and they take care of me.
I feel like I have a similar way in a different way, if that makes sense, in which I also seem to surround myself, and it's not like I do it on purpose, it's just kind of how things end up. I mean, it's also because I feel like the energy that you put out is kind of the energy you receive. And again, people that are impressive, people that have something to offer, people who don't just rely on small talk to keep things going. I feel like that's the people that end up hanging around me. And again, I so much prefer an environment where people are going to be building each other up than tearing each other down. Like a friendship based on like sarcasm and like jokes, like sure, that's fun, and that's like the constant jabs like you've heard on this show. Like it's not like all sunshine and rainbows, but it's not malintentioned, right? Like it's all in jest. Because at the very base of it, like there is like the friendship is love, right? The friendship is.
I think that's something that's new, a little bit new to me. I don't like before coming here. The friendships that I would have were like we never really kind of like roasted one another or anything like that. I don't know, because I was always the type to believe like, hey, if I'm with my friends, we're gonna uplift each other and support each other and help each other and like treat each other with kindness and respect at all times. Right. And it was like a new thing for me that like people were like, yo, your forehead too big. And it's funny. Yeah. It's a good time. I think we laugh, and partly it's because we understand where we're coming from, and I don't know. It's a lot of nuance that I don't think we have time to talk about it. But
we're good on time. Don't worry about it. But the last topic that we didn't discuss was literally the topic of small talk. And as you've heard in this show, like none of our conversations are really ever small talk. And like I said, with my friends, the way I interact with them, there's a level of profundity. Is that a word, profundity? People who are profound.
Take your artistic liberties, homegirl.
Basically, it's just, I don't know, small talk is a good way to pass the time. But when every conversation you have is small talk, it's kind of like, what is your purpose here? Not like here, like on this planet, just here, like in this interaction, like what there is nothing.
It's so boring.
And like I said, I feel like there is something to learn from every conversation you have. And when it's a conversation that's just not fulfilling, it's just kind of like, I know you have more to offer.
I need to leave. The lesson is don't talk to me. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but like, anyway, good game, good segment. Rafael, give us another song, one last song for the night.
Why do you pretend like I'm telling it to you right now? Like you already have it.
I'm letting you introduce it. I'm giving you a chance to contribute to the show.
Wow, you're saying I don't contribute. This next song is called "Power" by Kanye West. Shut up.
That was Power by Kanye West. Rafael, final thoughts.
Shouts out. Shouts out. That's what I meant to say.
Shouts out.
Damn,
Shots fired.
Damn.
Wow.
When you mix up your memes inside the back of your head. Honestly, that I really like that song. I think it's really
a good song. I have thoughts on Kanye West.
Is important. First of all, shouts out Atlanta. Just, home.
Of course, we couldn't go this entire show without.
Birthplace of Kanye West, the legend. And also home of, like, yours truly. and like so many other scholars here. Also shouts out NC and
shouts out to the 336.
What is other states? Illinois,
Iowa, Mississippi.
Yeah, shouts out the scholar group.
Shouts out scholars.
Big gang. We here
doing big things.
We made it so far despite. I love that when people just succeed despite.
And people are so deserving of what they have.
Hell yeah. All right, but
shouts out Eastern for the fantastic opportunity as well.
And shouts out Dr. Nunez. Oh my God, hero. All right. But Kanye West. My take on Kanye West.
I've explained my opinion. You can separate the art from the artist. However, the man is going through something.
Yeah, that was rough. I honestly it was kind of heartbreaking. For me, Kanye West was a key aspect of like my growing up, in the sense that like he kind of teaches a lot of people to love themselves, right? It's the whole ego self-esteem thing again.
Oh, for sure.
I'm glad people now get that reference, but where it's just like the world teaches you to like hate yourself and love like money and fashion and all these things that it's always constantly advertising to you and trying to sell to you, like a slim body or like super big muscles and all that stuff, and you have to like hate who you are until you have those things, right? And Kanye early in his career was like, fuck all that, I'm great because of who I am. And I think that Kanye's earlier fan base was full of people who were learning to embrace themselves and who were learning to like love themselves for who they were outside of like the jewelry and the money and the flashy cars and all that stuff.
It's not all fame, money, and girls.
Yeah, exactly. So it was painful watching him just like I think I get where he's trying to go. It's neoliberal nonsense that I hate, where it's like, oh, we gotta like love people and see if we can like bring them over. Like, no, fuck that. Beat the shit out of Nazis.
Oh my God.
Like endorsing that on air, I don't know if that's exactly what we want to do, but
no.
Shit, maybe.
No. Absolutely not.
I don't know. I just feel like he's talking from a place of ignorance. Doesn't understand the nuances of things.
And it sucks.
And it sucks that but it's like we went to that poetry reading and we talked about separating the artist from the art, and it's a big issue because how do you reconcile? How do you give somebody like your money or your views or whatever it is that's putting money in their wallets when they take that money and they like invest it into things that are destructive for you?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, how do you keep yourself away from an art form that is like giving you life, giving you energy, helping you like stay on your shit, moving forward?
Yeah.
It's a tough debate, and I think it's a
hard.
very personal thing to say where you draw the line, right?
Yes, for
sure. Do you
sure.
cancel every artist as soon as they do one bad thing?
Cancel
or do you
culture
just tolerate
is toxic on its own
saying
as well.
horrible shit all the time and just like because they're so good? So where do you draw the line?
There's a level of accountability.
I think it's a personal choice, I think it's a personal decision, and while I don't endorse Kanye's politics or anything like that, I'm big on like
the bops are bops,
class consciousness, and like people rising up and standing up for one another, working class individuals, everyone, Black Lives Matter, the women's rights movement, 5 for 15. I think that we all need to come together and like enact some kind of change,
demand action.
Yeah, and at the same time, like I like a lot of his music, especially his older things, but even his newer things,
Yeah.
And it's like you listen to songs and they're like full of like misogyny or like racism or this or that or the other, whatever it is that your music might be full of, and you're like, you learn to ignore it, right? Because it's like, I don't feel this way about this particular group of people, but you know,
there's some things you just have to learn to tune out if you want to enjoy the art, separate from the artist, or even pick it apart. Like the Monet paintings, that one was beautiful, the other one was disgusting.
It's like delete every new, like,
everything ever, just always,
song.
Forever.
You know, only listen to classical music. If you're gonna try to like,
not even, bro. These classical artists had such turbulent histories.
They honestly sexist as fuck, all that. So it's like, you have no room to like judge others, is what I'm trying to say. Is like, I'm never gonna tell somebody they shouldn't listen to somebody, because, you know, it's their decision to make. Not mine.
Like, I mean, so long as the artist isn't like a whole murderer or something, like.
I got skulls in my basement.
Oh my god.
We can't talk about that right now. We're overtime. So,
we are overtime. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. This has been Podcast with a K. I've been your host, Carla with a K, featuring Rafael.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week, same time, same station, with new nonsense and a new guest.
Beautiful.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Thank you very much.
We'll
Bye-bye.
see y'all next week.